Gang, we are back with more of the anonymous coverage reality after show here. Lauren, along with me, Adrian. Today we are joined by a very special guest from the cast. Lily's in the house. Lily, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing awesome. Thank you so much for asking. A lot of people come on the show. People don't ask us how we're doing. We're awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
or happy
we've been
Monday.
watching the show. We've been loving it, and you've been a big part of it. Actually, we've had a lot of insights to your evolution in the game. To that end, I'd love to get your perspective coming in on the game. Like on day one, what was your plan?
On day one, my plan was kind of to operate in the shadows, to not make a fuss, not make a scene, kind of just blend in. And unfortunately for me, that kind of blew up because apparently I was doing it too well to where people, kind of coined me the quiet girl. And, people who are quiet, you can't trust them. And in my head, I'm like, listen, if I was quiet, I wouldn't have made it here. So, let that be that. So then after that, I kind of had to, pivot and change paces. And so you best believe I came right out of that hideout talking to everybody and trying to tell them my life story.
For sure. Yeah, no, we definitely caught that watching the show. I think that the show has done a really good job of showing your evolution as the game is progressing. One of the questions that we've been asking everybody is, what was your theory, or what was your idea when picking handles?
When picking handles, my thought is I didn't want to pick something that aligned with me, and I didn't want to pick something that didn't align with me. I wanted to pick something that is super neutral, gender neutral, like everything, just something that was really not telling of anything, which is why in the first handle drop, I chose pizza because, in my opinion, I was just like, everyone likes pizza. It doesn't reveal anything about me at all. Just very neutral, and that's what I was going for.
Yeah, smart choice. I absolutely agree with that because you see some people pick something that they are super connected to, and then it kind of leads to maybe that potentially being that person. But for you, coming into the house, what did you think your biggest strength was going to be, and then also your biggest weakness potentially?
So my biggest strength I thought that I would have is that I'm, little, very unassuming. I wouldn't be perceived as a threat, somebody like tall and, like a meathead or whatever. So I was like, okay, I have that going for me. And then I know because of my relationship status, I'm not going to get caught up in any type of showmance or, rock the waves there. And I can just be somebody really neutral. So I was really hoping that that would, make me go far in the game.
Yeah, no, you were definitely trying to fly under the radar. And like you said, and
Yeah.
like we saw, I mean, it just blew up right in your face. So you had to pivot to go from like 0 to 60, like
Yeah.
in like one day, because each of these episodes is only like a day.
Right.
Walk me through that thought process. How did you pull such a 180 so quickly?
So I really just had to get my head in the game, honestly. And as you have seen, as I've progressed, I've kind of gotten a little bit more strategic as time has gone on and gotten more comfortable with, all of the uncertainty. I think that was really hard for me. And at the beginning, you had asked what my one of my weaknesses would be, and I knew going into it that maybe me being a little bit more emotional might, you know, be hard for me, and it definitely was. I cried a lot in the domain, which is okay, but also people don't realize that you are so out of your element. Me, I work from home, I work in corporate America, I live with my husband, all of these things, and then that's cut completely out of my life, and I'm with a bunch of strangers who are trying to kill me. So it was very emotional and very intense, and I knew that my emotions might get the best of me. But the good thing is it kind of allowed me to kind of toughen up. So being nominated back to back to back, as you have seen, I get less emotional kind of throughout episodes 2, 3, 4 because I'm starting to kind of get used to, okay, like, nobody's promised anything here.
For sure. And I think one of the most adorable parts of, and maybe adorable is not the right word, but when
No, I
when
like
you
that. I like
weren't
that word.
on the block, your
Yeah.
celebration to finding out that you were not nominated was absolutely epic. And Yeah, no, I absolutely loved your energy at that point. You were it was so great to see that evolution of you as a player and as a person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and it's funny because obviously what you see is cut down. I was celebrating as long as I could. They had to pull me out of that hideout because I was just so happy that I could go into this elimination ceremony, kick my feet up, drink my tea, and not have to worry about anything. Because what people don't realize is how much pressure and how nerve-wracking it is being up on that, the stage and having your puck read and not knowing, you know, if you're leaving or not. It's a terrible feeling. And so it was so nice to not have to feel that for at least once.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, we can go through a couple episodes. You have your little celebratory dance, and then we get three new players entering the game.
Hmm.
Walk me through that. How did you acclimate to that?
So when the three new players entered the domain, I was delighted. I was elated because I was thinking, okay, this is a game changer for me because now people are going to stop looking at me, stop talking about me with the same old narrative that's, dusty at this point, and they're going to start looking at them and what they have to offer. So that was really brilliant for me so that way I could actually slip back where I wanted to be, not not at all in anyone's attention. So it was awesome for me when the new players came in, and I was just trying to assess them, but I wanted to befriend them and work with all of them because I knew that the original players would want them out.
Right. So clean slate for you as they entered into the game. And then also what we get is the new handle there. So talk me through what it felt getting that shock factor of them entering into the game and then also having to pick a new handle yourself.
So having to pick a new handle after going through the hideouts for several days at this point, you kind of start to realize that sometimes it's really not about what the icon is, what the handle it is, and all about what you say because anybody could pick anything for any given reason. So when I picked robot, I was going back and forth for a while on what made sense, what didn't make sense, and there was a lot of them to choose from, but ultimately I was like, you know what, it's really what I contribute to the chat and how anonymous I can be, which really is the driving factor.
For sure. Yeah, no. It's been interesting to see everybody else's different perspectives on that, and I love
Hmm.
from a gameplay perspective your idea and what you chose and why you did. It's
Hmm.
great seeing the more innocuous choices like pizza and robot. And I think that they both of them, no qualms. I think you did great.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was hard.
So one arc that we're seeing over the past couple episodes, you're trying to become the anonymous, and you are
Desperately.
repeatedly throwing Nina under the bus in
Hmm.
anonymous mode. How does that make you feel?
That one hurt. That one was really hard. I think when I was pizza, especially putting up Christopher, that was easy for me. Um, Putting up Marcel was really hard, and then I was like, I can't do that again. And then for Nina, at first, I mean, you can see I placed second so many times, second to Jack, second to Victoria, and I was just so sick, and I just couldn't figure out what was that one more thing. And Nina, nobody had eyes on Nina at all. And I knew putting Nina up, it would cause a major stir and people would be speculating this and that. But me, I was really close with Nina. So I was like, no one, nobody would, just like what Jack did to Andy, nobody would suspect it. And meanwhile, I didn't know that Jack was doing that to Andy, but I kind of took that approach without knowing it was his and applied it with Nina. And after the first night, I was like, I cannot do that again. It was horrible going back into the domain and facing her and just seeing how, distraught she was. But then when I placed second, I was like, Lily, you're so close. So I had to do it again. I had to do it again and again because it was working well for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Great strategy, honestly, because it ends up working out for you. But talk to me about how difficult it is. I know it's a short amount of time where one day we're getting an elimination, but you really do get to know each other quite well because that's all you're doing, spending time with each other. And then you go into anonymous mode. So how is it going from face to face and then having to go within a handle? And explain to me that game style.
You're saying I'm a little confused on the question. Going from like being in anonymous mode to
Face-to-face
being
interaction with other people and then having to go into that anonymous mode. How hard is it knowing you have alliances with some of those people, but then you are in theory turning on them, such as Nina, for example?
it's it's a gutting feeling, honestly. It really kind of brings your moral compass into play, and you have to really sit back. And a lot of people, I think, were struggling with that component, and just kind of reminding yourself, it's a game, it's a game, it's a game. I wouldn't do this in real life. This is completely different. So it's definitely like a moral dilemma, if you will. But at the end of the day, you're there for a game. It's a human game, unfortunately. So it's just something that you kind of have to get used to, and you either like eat or be killed, you know?
Yeah.
No,
That's a
it's
good way to
totally
put
true.
it.
Yeah, eat or be
Right.
killed. I love it. One thing that I did want to get your perspective on as well is I believe it was episode 6, the numbers challenge that you guys did. Can you walk me through when you were paired up with Beastma and you had to do the stacking of the arithmetic problems?
Yes.
You guys went for the lowest number. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, so Bisma and I there are several reasons we picked the lowest number. One, because we both felt that we were in extreme danger. We both wanted that safety. We both felt that we needed it, especially with, the history of what we had been through so far with, so many women going home. So we were really worried. So that was one reason. Another reason was, as you can see, Bisma and I are both like 5'2" and under, and these things are really, really tall, and you had to stack it in such a way, you can't. It was very process oriented, if you will. But regardless, it was very tall and a very windy day, and we knew we wouldn't be able to make it with higher numbers given
Mhm.
the height restriction, and they had said we weren't allowed to lift each other. So
Oh, okay.
mainly with those two reasons, we chose the lowest number.
Mhm. No
That's
regrets on that?
interesting.
No, no, absolutely no regrets. The only
Cool.
thing I do regret is not moving a little bit quicker, because had we, maybe we would have gotten that safety.
Mhm.
So that was the only thing, because we were so close. So,
Had you gotten that safety, how were you going to decide who was going to get immunity?
you know what? I thought about that after the fact because we didn't talk about it. So I think that we would have been in a little bit of trouble because we both would have felt, equally deserving of it. So I think that would have been really tricky. I know from my perspective, Bisma would feel like she would need it because she's newer. She hasn't had as much footing with the starter players to, get alliances and whatnot. And then I would feel like I would need it because I had been up
Mhm.
nominated by these schmucks the whole time. So that would have been really hard, and I thought about that after the fact, like, oh well, maybe it's a good thing we didn't get it, because we didn't even talk about it. So we would have been looking at each other like, what do we do?
Right. That would have
Yeah,
been super
absolutely.
tough because,
Yeah.
like, in Dylan's and Marcel's situation, it seemed as though Dylan was way better at just handing it off and letting Marcel be safe.
Yeah.
Whereas between you two, you have similar situations where, like you said, she's new and then you've been up a lot more for elimination.
Right.
I do want to know, what has been the most shocking thing watching as a viewer?
That's a good question. There's been a lot of things shocking as a viewer. I was really shocked, and I should have known. I mean, obviously, certain people's handles was very shocking to me, but watching it, hindsight is 2020. I was very shocked that Jack got the anonymous as much as he did, because I kept saying, "Who in the hell is beating me? Like, how am I this close?" But like the rug keeps getting ripped out from underneath me, and I should have known it was Jack. I mean, he was brilliant, and I was onto him, but I didn't think that he was getting it so frequently. So that was very shocking to me, as well as his choices of who he sent home.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and Jack up to this point in the game, he's been playing really well, becoming the anonymous, being able to choose who's been able to go home. But
Mm-hmm.
in the most recent episode, we find that Jack did not win the anonymous, and it might
Thank
have been
God.
somebody else.
Right. Right. This is true. It's finally a change of pace. It's
So
good
walk
for
me
you
through
guys.
that. Tell me about that.
Are you talking about which episode are you talking about?
Oh, we're talking about the most recent episode.
Okay.
7.
Okay. 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 7. Yeah, that was obviously a major game changer. It was a shift of power in the most eloquent, beautiful way. And as you can see, I was elated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Yeah,
if you
no,
want me to say specifically, like.
no.
Oh, yeah, we just want to hear your thought process on
Yeah,
it.
no, we're just talking it out here.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
okay.
because it's you, and I wanted to know, was there any like second guessing or anything like that as to who you were going to send home?
Given the lineup, I didn't have any second guesses. To me, it was a very obvious choice. Unfortunately for Xavier, had he been put up against other competitors, because if you remember, it was me, Nina, Fisma, Dylan, and X. So that's 5 people to choose from, which is not a lot given like the week prior or the day prior and the day after.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, it was not a good lineup for me to choose from, and I would have been super happy if I would have had other major competitors in there. But for me, it was an obvious choice given that lineup.
Oh,
Could you
okay.
say who you would have rather have seen in there? Just curious.
Oh, absolutely. I would have rather seen definitely Christopher. I mean, obviously it was clear that, he was a problem for my game given the fact that he kept nominating me
Mhm.
and he's a major competitor as well, and he was strongly aligned with people that I felt like he was in the way of me being aligned with them. So had Christopher been in that lineup, I definitely would have gotten rid of Christopher over Xavier. Plus the fact that Christopher was in this showmance, I really wanted the girls on my side. I even said, I want Victoria right here on, Lily's shoulder. So I couldn't have that happen unless Christopher was gone. And so unfortunately, the one day she didn't nominate him, we only had one good candidate to choose from.
Well, it's been absolutely awesome to be able to talk to you. I love seeing your journey on this show and the progress that you've made so far. Yeah, no, thank you so much. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you guys. This was a fun conversation.
For
Yeah,
sure.
we
Yeah, Lauren,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
anything else? Yeah.
No, is there anything you want to leave us with, Lily, before we let you go?
I don't think so, but I do have a question, but it's probably for after.
Sure.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
no worries. Yeah. With that, Lily, thank you so much again. Adrian, as always, take care, everyone.